Right, good evening everybody. It's only BH8 Live number 95. Wow, this will never last. Welcome, take it away, boys. Oh boy, that was going to be a duet. Hey, Adam Griffith, congratulations. First on this week, good evening all. Ah, so much packed in. Right, we've got Zavi's doing the keyboards this week. Oh no, it's back to Leon now. Oh, they do a little shimmy switch on me there. There we go. Just to confuse you. People didn't realise how many sons I had. So you can see them both now. Well, number 3's over there. Right, okay, so hello Andrew. Hello Matthew. Andrew Whelan. So much stuff on tonight's show. I'll say a few more hellos. Meg, Michelle Jones, Gavin Lloyd. I saw Martin Leaker on there, which is very impressive because he's travelling. Right, thank you boys. Oh God, here we are. That was short and sweet, wasn't it? Just like me. Oh, hang on. I hope you can now see me. You see the top of my head. Oh, we have got a 2-camera thing we should be using, really. Oh, you alright, Arnie B?
Yeah, I just forgot that this I need to get another laptop.
Uh-oh, the laptop's not working. Right, well, don't worry, I can see the comments myself. Yeah, because Martin's been doing his tour up in, I think it was, York yesterday or today. Excuse me with the cameras. I should have moved it to show the others. There we go. Hello, Rice. Hello, Darren. All a happy Sunday. Look that bloke up, Ross. He's the best. He amazes me. Who's this? And then Gavin Lloyd. Hello, everyone. Right, got so much on tonight. I want to really get cracking. Going to dive in. Hello, Marco Guy. Yes, I want to speak to Marco. If you haven't watched Marco's stuff, look it up. You can find Marco Guy or Siluris 2020. I'll try and put a link in the description. We had another chat this week. Loads of fascinating stuff coming from that direction, which we need to get up as a programme. So highly recommended. Thanks for coming on, Martin. Yes, King Arthur of Lancashire. Here we go, yes. There's a bit of an English theme this evening, you will notice, alright? We're going to be talking a lot about Lancashire, Norwich, London. You might have said I did a little video about the first part of this book. I got really excited about all the, well, what I thought was going to be a lot more about the British history of early London and stuff. Well, as you read it, it became very disappointing quite quickly. And I know there's a lot of Peter Ackroyd fans out there, so I'll go into that, all right? We'll have a chat about that. Sitting there with a brew waiting for kick-off. Good for you, Chris. Right, hello, Amelia. Norfolk. Yes, we've got a bit of Norfolk today, yes. The castle is a monstrosity in every sense. But, of course, part of history now. Yeah, we're going to discuss a little bit about Norwich Castle, which I have to admit I didn't know much about at all. So I want to give an introduction more than anything. I hope you can understand me all right with this really blocked up nose. It's a nightmare. So, yeah, feel free to file the comments. And one of the things I'd like people to comment about, please, is that we got the show number 100 is only 5 weeks away. Wow. Which I was going to try and, if we, it would have been quite nice to make that blend in with Alan Wilson being 90, because that's only a few months away. But it's not going to quite work on the timing. But I'd like to make the 100th show a little bit special and interesting. So if you've got any ideas on that, please fire away. One thing I'd like to do is run it just reminds me, the other thing I meant to get on the show tonight, I have to get this on. It's someone posted this on Facebook earlier. What I'd like to do is have a special one, is lots of contributions from people in the group, or even people just interested in the sort of history and that. And there was one done today with someone's a short play, which is absolutely brilliant. It's just fantastic. I mean, it's to say it's a low budget is only part of the story, but it's absolutely hilariously funny, and I love it. Here we are. Right, okay. So I was going to do a little bit.
Starting an online store is easier than you think. Let me show you how to quickly open one with Shopify.
All right, we'll have a little bit of this. This will.
A boy called Merlin.
I'm not sure the whole thing.
For you.
David, you've come to make a blood sacrifice.
How did you know?
I'm a seer.
David! Kill the boy and mix his blood with the mortar.
But he is a seer. I know why your monument won't stand up. Under the ground there is a cave. Under the cave there is a lake. In the lake there are two dragons. One dragon has red eyes and the other has gold eyes. They are fighting and this destroys your monument.
Uther's family symbol is a red dragon, while mine is a gold dragon.
The gold dragon has invaded the red dragon territory and badly wounded the red dragon. In the end, the red dragon devours the gold dragon.
Father,
What is it, Hamish?
King Uther and an army of Romans have come and taken back his throne.
You foresaw this?
Yes, I'm a seer. I'm a seer.
Uther, I haven't seen you since the time I
Anyway,
killed your
it's
father.
great, okay? I like to show the whole thing, I think. I should put the whole thing on the channel. It's, they just put it up on... Oh, no, we got to see this chap coming onto the screen on the left. Hang on a second.
Vortigern, lots of innocent people have died today. No more people have to die. This fight is between us.
That's proper acting. What happened is I did that bit twice. Anyway, you get the idea. It's absolutely fantastic. Bendigedig, Diane, well done everyone concerned. Who posted it? Simon Boyce. Thank you very, very, very much indeed, Simon. More like that, please. I think it's great. And if people want to put up some clips of music, rather than that, I don't think I'll be singing tonight. I'm just... I've also got a reaction. I think it's more of a reaction to something than a cold. It's... I had it last week. It got better. Now it's back again. And it's really, really annoying. Especially as tomorrow... I am due to be sleeping up on top of a mountain tomorrow, so... oh, God. As you can see, that's going to be a little bit of a struggle. I'm supposed to get up to Newcastle later in the week. So I'm just trying to find the right... Where's this? Where's the show gone? Where's the show gone? Aha, here we are. Okay, so yeah, we've got a bit of Norwich and Norfolk. Yeah, and the first thing I wanted to go to as well... Hang on, let's just go through a couple of things, but... no, to dive in. It's interesting, actually, because there was coincidence that came up today. The red dragon and the white dragon, the golden dragon. One of the things I like to point across is that it shouldn't be a Welsh English, Scottish English, anything like that, all right? That's all good fun, and I do a bit of it as well, especially when the rugby's on. This is not the enemies here, okay? This is the worrying side, if you like, of nationalism, which is not about. What it's about is there's been a consistent approach for... Well, forever. Let's be honest, forever. But the bits we're talking about over the last so many hundred years about original British history being suppressed and pushed out. And it's been done not just to the Welsh, it's not just the Scottish or just the Irish, it's done to everyone, and in England as well. So, excuse me. Oh, this is going to be a real nuisance, this blocked up nose. I'm just trying to follow some of the comments there. And it also ties in, we want to talk about later, which is the gold and red lions in North Wales, which might surprise you, that the source for a lot of the information on that is Hugh Evans' book, The Origin of the Zodiac. And you'll see in here, excuse me, coughing away, the red lions and the yellow lions, which is a bit, once again, it's a similar sort of thing, where we've got battles between Welsh and English and that kind of stuff. But, like as was pointed out earlier today in the group, is that, for example, Norwich was extremely, extremely badly treated when the Normans came in. And there's other parts of Britain as well, where the whole history's just been wrecked and ruined. And Wilson and Blackett refer to this as what they call the Invisible Kingdom, okay? I know it was going to there was going to be a book, Invisible Kingdom, but that's been sort of broken up into smaller books. So it's a shame in a way, because the term, the Invisible Kingdom, is very, very important. It's at the core of everything we do. So what their argument is, you've got Welsh, Scots, Irish, English, Lloegr, Normans even, all these different groups, Angles, Saxons, but none of those groups actually really run the country and make the big decisions. There is this invisible kingdom. There is another, I don't know if it's what to call it, a racial group or a nationality, but that's been done. They're above all of this, and they're controlling the way the history works. Now, my emphasis, I would say, King Arthur the musical. Yes, Johnny, yes, that does need to happen. Put a note on there if we can have the Brecon one, okay? We have the Brecon location. So the important, for me, the working from Wilson and Blackett's work and the things you've run through, this is most apparent when you get to the era immediately after the 1680s. And if you're new to the channel, this is where a lot of the stuff, it's not just about this, but it's a focal point. That was the period when the Stuarts were ousted, the last of British kings, if you like. And as explained very well in Rob Shaw's book, Architecture and Power, this is the period when the City of London really took control of Britain. And they started putting on their puppet kings from Germany, the Hanoverians, before them, William, Mary, and they were, their power was so limited, and that was the frustration for them. It's one of the reasons William had real problem operating under those conditions. Okay, so let's Dinas Emrys on the 23rd of April. That's a big date, 23rd of April. That's a Saturday, isn't it? Yes, I shall got some things happening then. And of course, that's I was going to say it's Shakespeare's birthday, isn't it, or the National Day of England? Right, I'm sure you'd like to see me a little bit smaller. So yeah, we'll look at my snotty nose. Right, so hang on a second. Let's just go through some of the things we could talk about. Hope everyone else is in good form anyway. Okay, so your little face blocking this a bit. So we got why historians can't do history. Yeah, I'll be coming back to that a little bit later. And like I say, I'm going to be picking on Peter Ackroyd this time. Nothing against the English. Okay, and this is the point I'm trying to make here. It's we're a bit lazy, all of us, with our use of English, of use of language. And it's very easy to just sort of say something on the lines of, look what the English did to us, look what the English did to them, look what the English did to those. It's very few people actually involved in how those decisions come about. They're dropped down from above. And I think people should think about this in situations where we do avoid politics in this channel. We don't get into trouble as much as anything. And, all politics tends to be quite divisive. But just bear in mind that there is, overall, it's the people at the lowest level don't want to have wars and kill each other and do these terrible things and all that. All right? As far as I better go on that one, I think. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, so the show number 100 requests. What really like some clips of people playing the music, short songs. Just send in a message, 10 seconds. Send in happy birthday to Alan, or just say your favourite part of what we do on Britain's Hidden History. What favourite part of history? We'd like to see more about the stars, we'd like to see more about Arthur, or more about Egyptology, whatever it is. Just send them in. I like to run them as like a collage of clips. And I've got a few ideas as well for the show. Okay, so just a quick update on this one. It's coming along very well now. The toughest chapters to do. Oh, my goodness. If you're not aware of this book, this is 2 volumes. Here's the first volume, which talks about the Britons coming from the Middle East. Which, remember this as well, because this comes up with the Peter Ackroyd. Let me look at the London book. How would you prop this up? Peter, I'll borrow you for a minute. I think people hear me better if I do that. I need to find another book for when I talk about this one. That's only the only problem. Well, we'll cross that when we come to it. This is the first part, and the first volume of the book then explains how the ancient British language, which is most closely resembles Welsh these days. This is why Welsh is such an important language, Cymraeg, and probably why it's been so suppressed for the last 1700 years. You can trace by using the language. You can go back to Etruria, Rhaetia, so Etruria, Tuscany, and you can read Etruscan using the book. But as always, well, not always, but as often with Wilson and Blackett books, if you got the original, it's all a bit jumbled up and there's things duplicated and moved around. and that's sorting all that out and checking all the messages and the translations, because it's a very, very important book. And the job that's been taking the time with the second volume is a similar thing. We move on to America, and then you see the language and the writing system very similar to what you get in these places on the migration route and on the stones in Wales and places like that. You can see it on the caves and the stones in North America, and you can read it from there. So it's got to go through all those and redrawing them all and, you know, making sure they match up and that kind of thing. And I'd like to do more on that. And I do apologise, because last week I showed a bit of the how to read Colburn, and I think I picked the most difficult piece of ancient writing possible, you know, with all the little the curves and the dots and all that kind of thing. Most of it's much, much easier, okay? Much easier. And I'll do a bit more on that soon. All right, so thank you for Simon for this one. This is Marshall's brother, actually. Oh, cousin, sorry. I do apologise. Simon found this. I'm not going to keep going on about the wind farms. I don't know how much we can still do, but please, if you look in description, you can see the contact details. This article, I'll put this up as well. And it's just this idea that all our hills around this area, with most of the history is ancient historical sites, are just going to get ruined. Going to happen the next few months, not years and years away. This is happening almost now. They're going to be putting wind factories up there, or wind power stations. I don't like the word farm, because there's nothing being grown. It's just destruction and millions of tons of concrete, and the whole thing's a scam. And it's starting to come out now. It's come out a bit too late, perhaps, to stop things happening in South Wales, which has been really frustrating. It's a bit like being that bloke who got shot on the last day of World War One, you know, after the armistice had already been declared. Sun's carried on fighting. So there's absolute tragedy there. And there's I'll put this link up to this article. You see all the scandals going on, the money's. It's going to cost billions and never recoup itself in terms of pollution or money or anything. And then we end up situations like this, where we're picking a fight with Russia, and we no longer have our own energy security. So there we go, a little bit of politics tonight. All right, moving on. There's Martin's channel, so look for Martin Leaker. 47,000 subscribers, okay? These videos get like, you'd be amazed. And just to let you know, they are great. The first time I went on there, I thought, oh, it's this flat earth and all that, because Martin had asked me on. I didn't know the channel or anything about it. But then I thought I'd better watch a few episodes to get a favour for it.
Oh, got a donation.
A donation? Oh, thank you very much. Who's donation from?
Osborne.
Who, sorry?
Shermanator Osborne.
Shermanator Osborne, thank you very much. That's very kind of you, thank you. Yes, you can join. There is a membership button now. So that'd be very helpful. And then I watched the show, and like the first 20 minutes, just Martin talking, saying hello to people and just rambling, you know. What's this about? And then it kicked in. And there was hundreds and hundreds of pictures, interesting research, interesting thoughts. Have a look. Give it a go. As I was saying last week, and I can go back to again, we've all got our paradigms, the way we've learnt subjects, the way we've learnt our beliefs, and sometimes the evidence takes us outside. And that's what I didn't mention last week. What it's all about is the evidence. Follow the evidence and try and follow the path rather than decide where it's going to end before you get on the path. Do a bit more of that with a history teacher here now. So don't blame the English. All right, so my head's a bit scrambled, but anyway, I should take loads of tablets. I'm sure there's something I'll be taking now to make me just clear for an hour. Right, okay, so here's a fun one from Christine Phipps, which I loved this one. Slight diversion. If you're not aware already, I did the book Cymroglyphics, which is how you read ancient hieroglyphs using the Welsh language, based on the work of Wilson and Blackett, who did the big breakthrough in Moses and the Hieroglyph, which is a great book. If you haven't read that, get yourself a copy, okay? It's available through the website. Now, this sort of jokey thing has come up, and it got me thinking, and it's something I've thought about before as well. Now, if you look down the bottom, what they're showing is loads of emojis. I think they're also called stickers now, if you look on your phone, which is even more crude. And the idea is here that you can convey emotions. That's what they call emojis, because it's more to do with emotions. So a lot of these, smiley faces, frowny faces, crying faces, and then you can do more thumbs up and gestures. So, nearly all the ones I can see on the screen there are to do with, excuse me, I think I had something which I just reacted to. Loads of things I can't eat anymore. Do you notice that list gets longer and longer? And I try and avoid dairy, but I think I had something with a milky sauce or butter sauce. That was enough. Right, anyway, sorry. So you got the emojis here and the symbols and everything. Now, the classical consensus is... sorry, that was Lawrence. I do apologise. That was Mr. Druid. He doesn't have the internet. He doesn't know I'm online now. What if he's ringing to say, look, it's raining, it's too cold, we can't do tomorrow night up a hill. That would be a relief. I can't back out otherwise. Right. So we've got these symbols. Obviously, some things like a camel means a camel and that kind of thing. And a thumbs up's a thumbs up. But the magic of the hieroglyphs, and we'll see a little bit more about this. Is it's much more than that. What's shown is not necessarily what is being conveyed, okay? So Christine shared this on the Facebook group, and I thought I'd just say a few things about it, because what we look at, because it is relevant for many things. The ancient star research we do, the star maps that Hugh was doing, loads of these things come down to the sound. It's what they call the Rebus Principle. So what you do is you... this is a well-known principle, the Rebus Principle. This has been known in, Egyptology and stuff, since it started, really. The idea is you draw something that sounds like something more complicated. So the example of people like Gardner use in their book is a bee and a leaf, and it's belief. And that's how you do belief. All right? This works great. Now, if you look, this is just the one they picked here. We can just go anywhere. Like, there's the cloak. Look, so that's Segan. So you say se. You just say the words as you see them. Here we got the water, 3 lots of water, which is novia, which is sea. So you got no for no, so 3 of them, treno, and then you can work out what that means. So you're actually saying the sounds of what you see on the screen, and that, just by listening, you can hear what it is. It's beautiful. It's incredibly clever, and yet very easy to actually do. So, one of the ones I talk about, if you're trying to say welcome to someone, welcome is a kind of abstract concept, whereas in Welsh, croeso is welcome, and a cross is croes. So it's croeso. Cross means a welcome, and then you can go on from there. And it all starts to make sense. Now, where it makes me curious is it's always been assumed that hieroglyphs were done first, and then after a period of time, because it's difficult to draw birds and shapes and all that kind of thing, written language and an alphabet is more sophisticated, so that must have come later. So it's come out from the hieroglyphs. Whereas I've thought for quite a while, since I've been really spending time reading hieroglyphs, it's such a clever system. It's more advanced in many ways than writing. And for conveying to a population, it's absolutely brilliant, because no one has to learn to read. There's no reading or writing, there's no schooling required. You just say what you see. It takes a little bit of practice, but not a lot, really. It's actually surprisingly simple if you give it a go. So, and then someone put this up, Christine, as a bit of a joke, showing that emojis are sort of sprung out from letters. So they've actually come after written language as well. So maybe, and it's so tied into the Welsh language as well. I'd love to be able to know exactly what came first. The language, the hieroglyphs, did they come together? Because they're so intertwined. And particularly with the Welsh language, almost every word seems to have 2 meanings. So you have the meaning there you can draw, and then the intended meaning you're trying to get to. And we'll see examples of that again when we talk about why there's lions. Just jumping one part of that. If you look at a lion in Welsh, the Welsh word for lion is llw. Llw, as in the first start of the word, the name Llywelyn. So even the name of the king, Llewellyn, is the lion. You know, it's everywhere. It pervades all through the language. And the tragic thing is, the way the language has been dumbed down, is the best way of putting it, and the version being taught in modern Welsh schools is losing a lot of that dual meaning and sophistication. So it's quite a tragic thing. I just want to think about this. It's quite a funny one. But just look at that, trying to read it all. I'm not sure this is... I do wonder about some of these pictures they use as well. It's almost like they throw a few together, you know. Because you can make out the individual bits, but the whole sentence doesn't make... Anyway, come back to that. Right, so here's a new one for me. Although, I did hear something about this a couple of years ago. Thank you, Dawn Hilton, who's, I believe, watching this, and her friend Mary, who had the book, which is very difficult to get hold of. I was trying to get hold of a copy. Like £100 on Amazon, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. But Dawn has very kindly photocopied some of the pages, so we get an idea what this story is about. Okay, just there's quite a lot of comments there.
Yes, I'm
can you tell me? Let me have a look. Right, so what we have then is I had heard this story before because one of my old friends, 4 or 5 years ago, I think, said, "Oh yeah, I think he's from Lancashire," and it's another one of those ones where your gut reaction is to go, "Hey, it's not in my triangle. That's absolute rubbish," you know, and get angry about it. No, let's have a look at it, then explore it, and see what you think. So I'm not an expert on this by any means. All I've got is a few pages from this book. All right, so please, if you know more about it or what you think about it, please put it in the comments. So there's only a few pages of text, all right, not the whole book or anything. So according to legend, nothing more, Lancashire actually means Lancelot's Shire. So does anyone know where the word Lancashire comes from? Does it come from the name Lancelot? The tale linking the county with Lancelot and with Merlin, the magician, is, like all Arthurian lore, cough cough, of nebulous origins. But what the title does is capture the essence of an earlier, more mysterious Lancashire, the distant memory of which this book is dedicated. So this is the book if you're looking for it. If anyone wants to surprise me with a Christmas present, just legends and ley lines as well. It's got dowsing as well. Oh my goodness, it's got the whole lot. Oh, by the way, if anyone's in contact with Philip Rickman, I mean, this book is 45 years ago, so I hope he's still around. Right, we did a little bit of reading, okay? I will try and skip it then a second. So what I was trying to find first of all was Martin Mere. It's a huge inland lake, a massive expanse of flatland near Burscough. If I'd had more time, I would have tried to put some graphics up of Martin's Mere. So you got all about this area. I did read through this. Right, here we go. Vivian was the lady of the lake, since we get into the Gwynedd stories. Merlin was so much in love with her that he misguidedly revealed to her the mysteries of his magical art. Through this, she was able to contrive a way of keeping him to herself forever, creating around him a binding spell, from whose boundaries he could never break free. Some legends say Merlin lies in suspended animation at the bottom of the former lake. Others put him in caves on the seabed. He's at Bardsey Island off the Welsh coast, at Carmarthen, Carmarthen, and below Alderley Edge in Cheshire. For Merlin, like Arthur himself, is an archetypal figure, seeming to represent all that is magical in the primitive past. Now this is one of these... hang on, it's just... Well, actually, you can't really... Oh, no, I'll just jump away a second. This is where it gets difficult, because I know there's on some of the groups, like the Anglo-Saxon groups and that on Facebook and other groups, is one of the hardest things I find to deal with is this concept that it's all just myth, you know? It's all just nonsense. And this comes up a lot. A lot of people say it's just an archetype, it's just repeated throughout the place. What we need to do is look at these kind of things and think, well, why is it... What's the source of the archetype? Almost all legends and myths, if you want to use those terms, do have an original source. Now, where it gets particularly confusing with the Arthur situation is that, yes, Arthur does mean bear. We're back to this duality thing again with the words. Arth is the bear. Arthmile would be like, you know, the it's the Great Bear, this kind of thing. So some people say, well, if this refers to the star, it doesn't refer to a person. It can be both. This is the thing. If you are trying to do an analogy, if you're trying to tell a story, the story is far more powerful if you use known characters. So if Arthur's the most famous historical king, he's a perfect character to run legends about, talk about stars, do all sorts of things. Okay, so they've got anything specifically to tie it, to what we're doing here. I guess I can see the comments somewhere. I know it's difficult. Right, okay. So anyway, so Arthur too sleeps. Now this is a curious one. I think we need to... another one I think that we can really bring answers to with the historical. I'm going to chuck something out. Close your ears. Please don't break. Oh. Is there any way I can do it? There we are. Good. Right. I can fix that. It's wood. So what we have here, right? So Arthur too sleeps in many parts of Britain, awaiting his summons. He has moved not only in space but in time, being associated in different versions of the story with the 4th century, the 6th century, various other periods before and after the life of Christ, whose spirit he is supposed to have chased in the form of the Holy Grail. Celtic scholars see Arthur as an early deity, so he's become a god now, and Grail as an old mystical symbol. Arthur and Merlin are everywhere, representing the golden age of Britain to which we aspire to return. Anyway, so Lancelot's supposed to have lived in the region of the lake. Now, the reason I mention this is later in the week, I'm going to go North Wales. The plan was to go North Wales and across to Newcastle. There's a lot of travelling this week. And I'm going to be filming, unless that was a call to cancel. Oh, why did I just put him on? You could have had Lawrence on live. I didn't think of it. Could have put on speakerphone. You could have had... I'll try and call him back. Put in the comments if you'd like to hear Lawrence, the bard, Derville, live, or if I just keep going. So, so right, now we can try to get some sort of history trying to come into this article now, okay? Rather than just being it could be a lake, it could be anywhere, and they just put the names to it. Right, so Lancelot seems to be the key to the Lancashire thing. Was supposed to have lived in the region of the lake, also identified as Martin Mere. He was the son of King Ban of Benoit in Brittany, says one biography. See, Ban seems like it should be Bran, doesn't it? And he spent his childhood in Britain. When his priest castle was under siege, fire broke out. And in the can't quite read that. Confusion, the baby Lancelot was temporarily lost. When the smoke cleared, his mother found him in the arms of Vivienne, Merlin's mistress, who, for reasons best known to herself, sprang with a child into a deep lake and disappeared. I mean, it's a really different story, isn't it? Vivienne brought up the young Lancelot in caverns beneath Martin Mere, from which he took his appendage of the lake. When he was 18, Vivienne took Lancelot to the lake to Arthur, who at the time was fighting the Saxons and made him a knight. But Lancelot had yet to distinguish himself in his most famous battle of defeat of the giant Tarquin. So, Tarquin strikes to me, we're going back to the ancient Roman kings then, Tarquinius and all those, the ancestors of, before the migration, the old Roman kings. Let's look what we got. That's what we got here. Sorry for being late. Hello, Richard. Good to see you. King Bran was a British king. Yes, the first, not a Breton king. Yes, that's what I thought. It sounds like Bran. I can't imagine there's a King Ban. And the Tarquins refers back to the ancient Romans. And it does mention Romans here, you see. If we go, Tarquin had something of violent temperament and several unpleasant habits. John Roby, the authority on Lancashire folklore, revealed in 1882 there was a carving on the ceiling of Manchester College depicting Tarquin consuming his daily meal, a live child. I mean, how many stories is mixed up in this? It's absolutely brilliant, I think. The Great Confirmation took place at Castle Field in Manchester, a 12-acre fortress said to be built by the Sistuntii, I don't know, early rulers of Lancashire. Arrow-scarred battlements were later stormed by the Britons, Romans and Saxons. So if the Romans stormed the castle, it's pre-Roman. That's interesting. And Sir Tarquin led an assault on the castle, home of a British knight. He allowed them to stay, but treated them little better than slaves. Now, we have to jump forward a bit now. Right, King Arthur's own connections with Lancashire centre on the River Douglas, often identified as the Douglas mentioned by the historian Nennius. I think that's one of the 12 battles we're talking about. Battles against the Saxons are reputed to have fought here with Arthur the victor. Conclusion. You can read all the rest of this. It's just a general moan about the way Lancashire's being run to the ground and badly treated and all this kind of stuff. And Alfred Watkins, if you don't know, he's the granddaddy of dowsing and all that kind of thing. So you can read that. That goes on more about the random... Oh, there's another page. Oh, I think I missed a page. Anyway, from our point of view here, the main thing is the historical story. So if you know more about this, or Dawn, I know you're only getting the book today. If you can read more about the book, I'll give you why they put it there. I'll be very interested, because we've got so far that we got obviously Arthurian stories connected with the South Coast, with the Bristol area, Manchester area. I've been putting an appeal for a couple of years now for someone to talk about the Scottish Arthur. I'll do an interview and have a proper conversation about it, because that seems to be gaining momentum. And one of the concerns is that these things gain momentum as a way of, not this book, obviously, this book was written in the 70s, but all these extra Arthur stories seem to get in the way of the history. I haven't said anything particularly history in there. It seems to be more that the story of Arthur, yes, it is taken. Yes, it is applied to many places. But that doesn't mean there isn't actually an original historical Arthur or a couple, as we know, at the bottom of all that. Let's have a look. Hybrid, Iceni and Anglian migrations. Who's this? Julian? Junction Film, sorry. Several villages in Norfolk have clues in the names. Yes, yeah. I see a lot of people know an awful lot more about Norfolk than I do, which is not a lot, for which I apologise. But I just wanted to, as is pointed out, this is Britain's hidden history, not just Wales. And there are examples around the country. So a bit of Manchester. Here's a bit of... this is Norwich Jail, apparently. Absolutely grim. If you look at it on the left, it's no windows or anything. It's... have I written down the whole thing that... oh, could you just go to the printer, please? There should be a page on the printer. The printer, please. Because Charles, thank you, Charles. Charles wrote quite a long message. I've chopped down... Oh, no, mind, I've edited slightly, Charles. Right, so he's written there, of all the buildings in Norfolk, this is the one that I find most diabolically offensive and horrific. Norwich Castle. Now, the prompt to this, he got a little bit feisty, which he doesn't normally in our group. But one of the members, David, I think it was, put a thing up saying how he finds the what I would call invader castles, like Edward I castles in North Wales, quite offensive. You know, they are... he was being tongue-in-cheek, all right? He wasn't overly serious, but he got taken seriously by a few people. It escalated. And it's this idea that the people who built those castles and everything very much treated the Welsh as slaves. So by celebrating these castles, we're celebrating previous enslavement and bad treatment of people. And it's almost like a reverse play on the cancellation trust culture that's going on. So why is it in Wales you have massive castles to people who were very bad to Wales in the past? And it became a little bit English-Welsh, and Charles came in and said, well, hang on, look at this one. You want to check out... Sorry, you can't see it. Check out Norwich Castle if you want to see symbols of oppression sitting there in the middle of our cities and towns. Again, the Invisible Kingdom, right? So this is what Charles wrote. So I told you, you can see on the screen, diabolical, horrific. Originally built in wood by Normans, inverted commas, whoever they were, who had demolished an entire district of the early city of Norwich, displacing all the people. It was eventually replaced with stone that was supposed to have been shipped from Caen, C-A-E-N, in France, at a stratospheric cost, presumably, while the peasants starved and were subjugated. Now, I think my geography is not brilliant, but I think around there's not a lot of stone around the east side. It's more sort of arable and, where this was, it would have been swampy and marshy, and stone would have been at a premium. It's a little bit different situation to Wales, where there's big stones everywhere. Try digging in the garden, you'll find tons of them. There's quarries all over the place. So that can be understood there. Right, this was also used as a prison with no light, all the way back into the 1800s, where local dissenters were tortured and executed, as well as people taken as slaves, children or otherwise, during food riots and so on. The long history of protest, riot and rebellion was eventually beaten out of the people by the 1800s, I guess. Norwich is the only city in Britain to have been excommunicated by the Catholic Church for rioting protest against the Catholic monks there in the 1200s. So there you go, that's something I didn't know. The Kett brothers, William and Robert, led tens of thousands of men in a rebellion against land grabs, only to be hung, drawn and quartered on the side of the castle for their efforts, and many of the other men executed there and massacred. Pubs, roads, parks, buildings, even a famous oak tree have their name on. If you like, please come on to Norfolk and I can explain to you, as judging by the blanket comments about the English, insert prejudice comment, there is a gap in comprehension about the regions of England and their history, which I have to say seems a very reasonable comment to me. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I was just going to... It's not really well organised this week. What do you mean it's never very well organised? There should be a link to... Alright, we'll have to do it the hard way. Okay, just join me a second. I'll just... I'm not using Wikipedia as a research tool, okay? It's just quite handy sometimes. You got something like this to see, just to get an idea. Just get an idea of what the basic story is. So Norfolk Castle. I thought I had this. Sorry, it's in Norfolk. It's called Norwich. One of my good friends is from Norwich. Pip, if you're out there. He's a real character. Right. Okay. Hope you can see that. All right. An incredibly ugly building. This gives you an idea if you don't know England too well. It's right over in the east. One of the things, as he was saying there, yeah, Normans originally. I don't know if there's a castle there before. You can read this yourself. I have read some grisly stuff. I actually built the keep on top of an old Saxon cemetery, apparently. There's a very bleak-looking place going right back through the watercolours. And you can read there about the executions, the torture, the terrible things. There's the ones mentioned. Robert Kett being one, where he was hanged, drawn and quartered for a peasants' revolt. So it'll be interesting to learn more about that. And yes, so I might put you on the spot, Charles. And yes, we'll have a chat, maybe a Zoom chat or something. You can tell me more about the East Coast. And I'd really like to expand this and have more talking about things. I mean, the key is Wilson and Blackett and that kind of stuff, because it reveals so much of our history before the rewrite. That thing we're talking about in the sort of 1680s, with the coup, and then the 1700s with the Germanic kings being put on the throne, and the new history being invented. I mean, really, it's been invented. If you look at Originus Celtica, or Celte, by Edwin Stubbs, for example, I've got the books here. I managed to find them in an old bookshop years and years ago. Fascinating read, beautifully written. But it even explains in the introduction, it's a creation. You know, he's a genius who's reinvented history. We're not meant to reinvent history, are you? That's not really the idea. You're supposed to reveal history, not reinvent it. Alright, okay, so... Have I done this right? I don't know. What's wrong with me today? Come on. I want to use more comments, actually. Let's have a look. Hang on a sec. What we got here? Right. The more the Roman narrative's been examined, the more it's been suspect. Yep, that's completely 100% true there. I'm more and more. The more I'm reading now, the more I'm studying. Is the I was reading something else the other day. The whole, yeah, that was it. Yeah, yeah. I'd like to maybe going to talk about that. I thought we'd done that subject so much recently. Is Florence? If you read Flamenco and that, they've got Florence as being the older main city of Rome. And then they have their ideas about Etruscan means the Russians, Etruscans, it sort of rhymes. They got reason to say it's Russians. And Rome was very much set up as a spin-off in about the 14th century. And it's after then that they invented themselves this great history as part of their rivalry with Florence. Ooh, careful up. Right, so been to the castle in Norwich. Oh, Susan. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Marcel. Norfolk is rich in Albine names. Yeah, that's another thing. Actually, if you look on the Wikipedia article, even the Wikipedia article mentions there are a lot of early British names. What else we got? We know that Belgium existed, so I don't think there can be a conspiracy theory that Caesar Latinized it to Belgium. The Belge guy existed regardless of Caesar. Okay. As the second Arthur fought Legolas. Hey, Lego. Hi-oh, Robert. We haven't seen each other for ages. We've got to meet up. As the second Arthur fought from south to north and back, it's no wonder he's claimed all over different parts of Britain. 11 of his famous battles are fought in Scotland. That's a good point. Very good point. Same as some of the places related to the story, in places like Cornwall and places like that. These people moved around. And one of the things which is really frustrating about attitudes toward British history is, I was reading the other night again, wasn't it, Arnie, the old Ladybird Alexander the Great book.
Yes.
We had that as a bit of a unusual bedtime story. I'm trying to get the old Ladybird history books. I know there's a lot of flaws in them, and I spend a lot of my time pulling them apart. I've got the one here. There's another one here. Julius Caesar, for example. You can imagine I'd enjoy taking this one to pieces. But part of our culture is to know the sort of accepted history as well. This is kind of what draws us together, you know. It's no good me turning around and just saying, Alexander the Great, yeah, load of rubbish, never happened. What? Because there's so much of our culture and everything comes in around Alexander. I mean, the lion as well, you know, the fact that he wore the lion helmet and this kind of stuff. Oh, hang on a second, I'll let you jump back in. So we have to have this sort of common... This is why school assemblies are so important, and regardless of the religious aspects, things like reading the Bible, it gives us a common set of references and values and things to think about. And that's very much how I see a lot of the mainstream or consensus history. It's that cultural... I'm not to explain this very well. It reminds me of my best friend from college. He's actually a Roman Catholic, but he doesn't really go to there. He says he's culturally Catholic rather than religiously Catholic. I think it's a little bit like that with our history. We can sort of be culturally into it without... can you go to the scroll on the bar there? I was trying to scroll down a bit there. Okay.
You're at the latest messages.
Yeah, I am now. I'd gone back a bit. Okay, all right. What are your thoughts about... Hang on.
Albion, Mesolithic people in history.
Albion, Megalithic... Thank you, Jimmy. So, questions and comments are really good if you can, please. Right, so hang on a second. So what's the question about now? Right, the question is megalithic. Right, where I would come in, it's an area that Wilson and Blackett don't really go into the megalithic stuff. As they always say, they are interested in recorded history only. Their whole approach is to look at the ancient records and instead of treat them as rubbish and myths and legends or modernising them or rewriting them, translate them word for word for word for word, even if it looks like complete garbage. Put the words in, word by word by word by word, and see what it actually says. And then if it tells you something, then look for other sources that might confirm it and look for physical evidence to support that. So unfortunately, with that approach, it doesn't really help us with what was happening 10,000 years ago or pre-recorded history. I mean, you can follow it all the way back to ancient Egypt and hieroglyphs and that kind of thing. Now, regards to the second half of the question, Albine migration, very quickly, that's where it says that including the English, British, came to Britain, say, 1700 BC, something like that. So what was here before? Well, that's kind of up for conjecture a bit. I know my view is a bit different to some other people's on it. I mean, I see it more as the records say, it was pretty much uninhabited, which implies that why was it uninhabited? Was it because the poles had shifted? and Britain was frozen and icebound. So any people in there before had been pushed out, and it was ready for migration to go back in again. That seems to be the case. The interesting question then is like whether it's Hugh's looking at, and Marshall's looking at, other people researching this. Was this a first migration to Britain, or was there much older people that maybe got out and back in again, or whatever? That's the kind of where the thinking is at, to try and it's quite difficult with some of these things. How do you date them? How do you work out what's what if you've got no written record to refer to? There are other ways, there are other clues. And this is sort of hitting on one. So thank you, Zoe Spencer. So we shared this on the Facebook group. And I should explain, this has been found, I think it's supposed to date from the 1200s or 1300s. Some sort of horse brooch or something like that. And you can see there the 4 lions of Gwynedd. It's a beautiful piece. I don't know if it's authentic or anything. I hope it is. It looks wonderful. It's great to think of things like this surviving for hundreds and hundreds of years. But I don't know any more beyond that. Now, it got some conversation going. Like, for example, Alex Jupp. I hope I said your name properly, Alex. Does anyone know when and why lions became such important icons across Europe? For an animal that was hunted out of Europe a long time ago, and that our ancestors never saw, it's interesting how it became so important. Why? What a cracking question. I was like, excellent. That's definitely the sort of thing we like to talk about on here. And, so I was trying to keep up with the comments at the same time. As Marshall's writing quite a bit about Norfolk. Brilliant. Okay, come back to that. Oh, yes, because the other thing I would say, thank you, Marshall, because I didn't mean to mention this. The East Coast, for Charles and anyone else from the East Side, if you go back through the videos or search, if you go within the channel, there's a little magnifying glass, search Troy or New Troy, you'll find a whole load of discussions I've had with Marshall about the idea of the first Troy being actually in Cambridgeshire or the East Coast area towards Norfolk. We do talk about that area a lot, and it's a very important part of ancient British history, and that goes back to at least 1100 BC, when you're talking then about the movement of the capital, and could be the scene of the first of a Trojan War. Maybe not the only one, there's one in the Dardanelles as well, but a Trojan War. So yes, that area is very important. And Peter's book kind of... Anyway, we'll come on to that in a second. Alright, I need to speed up now, don't I? Because it's gone 9. And must be a struggle listening to me like this. Okay, so what I've done here, got Hugh's book out. Hugh's wonderful book. Don't lose the page, Ross. Don't lose the page. Good. Origin of the Zodiac. Alright. Just quickly, though, the idea of this, just to give a little bit of background.
Why did it stop streaming? Did you hit a hotkey?
Yeah.
You.
Well, I didn't realise it, did I? Alright. Are we back?
Yeah.
Alright, sorry about that, folks. I edited it out for later, but I think what happened was I accidentally hit one of the hotkeys without realising it, which stopped the streaming. Sorry about that. We're back. I think I know where we stopped. I was talking about this. I have to speed up now. We lost a chunk of time. Thank you for staying with me, those who did. Thank you very much. I do apologise. So you've got the origin of the Zodiac. So you've got this is the horizon. You can see the different star signs. These are the permanent stars. And all these you can find then make sense. And now one of the things which I think is absolutely... By the way, this grey area represents the Milky Way. So you have the spirit coming in, flowing down the Clean. You've got the major rivers, which it follows around the rivers. And then the rivers flow back out again. These are the holy rivers, the Dovey and that. So it is amazing how it all fits with the place names and what they mean. So rather, I was rather flattered really. One of the things that Hugh says he uses a lot in the book is the Cumberglyphics book about the hieroglyphs. So this is one of the symbols. This is used for Leo. If you look at your star signs, your zodiac books, or your astrology, or whatever. You're going to see the noose, or it's an olive. Sometimes it's drawn like this, sometimes like this, and looks more like an olive. And if you go into your Cumberglyphics book, we get dictionary in the back. What it lets you do then, I will zoom in a second. The dictionary in the back, you look through for the symbol. This is the difference between Cumberglyphics and the consensus Egyptology, where their dictionaries are huge, with thousands and thousands and thousands of definitions, 40 or 50 for one symbol. And you have to try and work out which one it is. It's ridiculous. What language can ever work like that? Olives is interesting because we do have 2 or 3, because some people think it looks like a slingshot. It's a rope. And also another thing which Hugh has added is it looks like it could be a noose as well. So we'll show that. I'll have to add that to the next episode of the book, if we ever do a 3rd edition, or just an update. So what we have here, you look at this, zoom in a second. So there we are. So if this is olives, yeah, olivide, see, it's almost the same word, olivide. You wouldn't tell the difference really. Successor. The spellings are a modern thing, don't forget. And then you got olive berries, which is the one which Hugh's looking at more. So we got olewydd, and the root, oth, is this oth, which is omnipotent, all powerful. Now the other thing which Hugh points out in his book, an absolute nugget, and that's why I couldn't believe it when someone said, "What's the lions there?" Because I was just reading, I was just reading through Hugh's book again earlier in the week. As you can see, I managed to find the image there. Hugh's away at the moment. This is the Master of Animals. Goes all the way back. If you look at some of the names, there he is again. And I would like to point out to you that, just go back a second. This goes back to Gilgamesh and those stories. See the 2 lions? We're talking about Gilgamesh, the Master of Lion Animals. There's another ancient image to give you an idea of what it looks like. Because the curious one is then, when you get... does anyone recognise this? Do you know what that's from? Well, this is a purslid. It's in Britain. And talked about quite a bit. Sutton Hoo. Supposed to be Anglo-Saxon. One of the reasons being these guys here and here. Looks like that, okay. This is going back to Norwich again, East Coast, because that's where Sutton Hoo is, more or less. I'm not really good at East Coast geography. But here you see what Wilson Blackett pointed out, and Alan Hassel, is the same symbol. This is Gilgamesh, the master of beasts, and there's the 2 animals. But of course, because it was decided long ago that Sutton Hoo has to be Angle, this has become Woden and their 2 wolves. Alright, so this is where, whereas I got a feeling that it's much, much older. This could be hundreds and hundreds of years BC, even 1,000 years BC. It could be 1,500 years older than they're claiming Sutton Hoo to be. Well, they claim that to be 600s because it has to fit in with the angles. It can't be British, you see. So it can't be any earlier than 600. Well, here's some of the words. Just to give you an idea. I'm running too late now. What I want to do is like, if you can look at many of these Babylonian words, they all translate in Welsh. So I'll try and read it from here now. So for example, there we've got the Babylonian name Mulapin, which is listed in the star catalogues as Mul-Urgula. The Sumerian word for the constellation was borrowed phonetically into the Akkadian language as Urgulu or Urgili. Now Gal, so what you have is Urgal, so Gal is powerful. Alright, so phonetically we've got Urgallu, lion, which means the lion, which is the light, abundance, wealth. Right, pigs ear this, aren't I? So what we have, it's Galu. And Galu becomes Galu. Alright, this is just another example where it ties in with the lions, okay? Now where that comes into it then, you've also, in the middle of that star map, is an important town called Machynlleth. And Machynlleth sits above or underneath Regulus, which is the lion star. So again, you've got the lion. That's the drawing of what it looks more like on hieroglyphs. And if we look at lion then, this is again taken directly from the Cymroglyphics book. You can look down for the symbol you're looking for. It's about 300 altogether. There's the lion. Another interesting one. Oh, good zooming in, Ross. You missed the lion off. You couldn't make that up, could you? You have to do with the small one. I've cut it off, but there somewhere. Alright, so what we have is lion, llw. Llw gives wealthy. Llw is lion. Llwych, the light, the shining, which is what Hugh alludes to here. And it's also the guarding. So when you see... I just want to say here now... so we look at Regulus. You'll read from the book Accepted. Egyptians called Regulus the king star on the Dendera zodiac and placed Leo standing on Hydra, suggesting the Egyptian constellation was much bigger and straddled the ecliptic. That's that horizon I was telling you about. The Babylonians also called Regulus the king star. Regulus was the leader of the 4 royal stars of ancient Persia, the 4 guardians of heaven at the 4 cardinal points, the other 3 being Antares, Aldebaran, and Fomalhaut. And that's when you get the one with the man, the eagle, the bull, and the lion. So Rag is foremost, previous, and Gali means powerful, the suffix, which is where we get our abstract concepts into a named entity. It's the leader, the foremost of the 4 royal stars, perhaps because it sits exactly on the ecliptic back in, well, Hugh's theory is 5,500 BC. It would have risen in the east and set in the west in perfect conjunction with the sun. This might have been the time the constellations were created. So read means radiating. So you see a lot more information there about it in the book if you go along with it. The whole idea of Leo, the stars, going back to line of Judah, tying in with that, and then you've got a little explanation then about the lions of Gwynedd themselves. So I'll just read a little passage, because also in here, amongst all the information, is a really nice travelogue as well, from the Field Journal. So we drove down the ancient road winding through the Avon Dilys Valley, arching around the head of the constellation. We passed through Corris Achav, bypassed Corris, and went through Esgyrgeiliog, then down to the Dyfi Valley, between the guarding peaks of Brodyn, which is the chest, front of gold, a golden lion. Because the English wonder why it's AU in the charts for gold, it's a GO. Well, that goes back to Welsh as well. Aud, AUR is gold. And Bryn Goch, which is the red hill, red meaning east. Perhaps a paw at the easterly extremity. We crossed the Dyfi and drove into Machynlleth, Regulus along Hale Doll, meaning course of the loop, the ecliptic. All these names are there everywhere. The farms, the roads, the hills, the rivers. It's phenomenal. So you can read then, this all ties in with the sun worshipping, which is the video you've seen, where the gravestones up to the hill, Penrallt, the supreme ascent, and behind that Gallagog, which is ascent of the glorious. The 2 hills align to see Leo rising just ahead of the sun on the summer solstice. Again, more references to Leo and the lion. Back in the office, we checked the star risings. Regulus, being exactly on the ecliptic, was in perfect conjunction, that means aligned with, the sun in 5,500 BCE, and the church was orientated to see this rising out of the summits of the alignment of the 2 hills. And you'll see the video in the thing of what you search for. There's a lot of videos there now. You'll see the graves don't line up east-west, they line with the rising sun, and it's to do with Leo. And this all ties in then with Llw, being Welsh for lion, and the king is actually called Llywelyn, and the lion on the standard. So it's many faceted, you know, there's more to this straightforward definition. But it's an integral part of Gwynedd, the lion. And it could also go back, as Hugh explains in the book, to the tribes of Judah. And of course from the Bible, they're the lion, and they're supposed to come to Wales as a lost tribe, so there we go. Good zoom in on the wrong bit. Great. So there we go, if looking it up, pages 122 to 128. Right, I'm going to keep this short now, it's got a bit late, it's 9 already, just a quick one. And I need to prop my book on something. I got all these old books I found. Fantastic bookshop down in West Wales. These are a bit buried under books, so bear with me. Right, now if you saw the video I popped up a few days ago, you will have noticed on there that I was... You noticed on there I was very impressed with Peter Ackroyd. Cheap trick, but I wanted to do it. Because I think that's the end of the PowerPoint there. Right, because... I'll do this quickly, because what I was talking about last week, so why historians can't do history, why all of us have difficulties in some subjects, because the subjects gets built, and it gets, I'm doing it upside down, it gets built on and built on and built on. If you want to become a person in that subject, you start from here, and you have to learn and learn and learn and learn to get yourself all the way back to the start, and you're within this triangle. The problem comes, what happens if the evidence, like I say, it's going to be evidence-based, go where the evidence takes you. What happens if there's your triangle of your subject and everything falls within it, if the evidence takes you to here and you're outside your triangle? What do you do? Now there's a number of reactions from academics: dismiss it, ridicule it, attack it, abuse it, deny it, call it a fake, call it anything, because it's not inside the triangle. You have to venture outside the triangle. It's a rule for life, okay? Now then, I was very excited when I started reading Peter Ackroyd's London biography. I know there's a lot of fans out there, so I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not talking about his more recent history. But what's remarkable, great example here. I only got this book a couple of days ago, so I'm not very far into it. But what was amazing, if you noticed, I did a little short video yesterday, I think, saying how he explains in great detail, right? In great detail, how London predates the Romans. All right, the name Llyn Don means the place of the next to the lake, and the Penton is the sacred hill. The original hills, you know, we go through the whole thing where the name comes from. He talks about Lud and the ancient walls, Ludgate, the whole thing, and how the roads follow the ancient paths that go back, you know, thousands of years. There's even evidence of Neolithic, you know, Stone Age remains. He talks then about Julius Caesar, describes Julius Caesar, so we come in 55 BC, if we're going to go with that narrative. Description of the region around London suggests the presence of an elaborate, rich and well-organised tribal civilization. Its population was exceedingly large, and the ground thickly studded with homesteads. The nature and the role of the twin hills for the period cannot with certainty be given. Perhaps these were sacred places, or perhaps their well-defined position allowed them to be used as hill forts in order to protect the trade carried along the river. There is every reason to suppose that this area of the Thames was a centre of commerce and of industry, with a market in iron products, as well as elaborate workings in bronze, with merchants from Gaul, Rome and Spain bringing Semian ware, wine and spices in exchange for corn. It goes on and on, right? And it says in here that clearly all this evidence and knowledge of it being pre-Roman creates, I think he puts it, how does he put it? Is uncomfortable, I think, or something, or creates a problem for those who believe that London was built for Rome. But he carries on, he gives more information, he talks about the gods. And it wasn't the next chapter, I suddenly realised what was wrong with this. There's a few things. One, and this is where we do have to blame the English a little bit. Not you watching this, but I sort of a certain academic mindset. I suddenly realised that even though this book's from 2000, 20 odd years ago, it doesn't mention the word Welsh, Wales at all, as the Irish would say. And it doesn't really talk about British either. Everything's Celtic. You must know that this is probably not Celtic or anything. You know, this guy's an incredibly learned historian. But when he quotes the meanings of words, like where he gets the meaning of Penton or where he gets the meaning of loads of different places, he uses the Welsh words. He shows them. He shows the Welsh translation. But he never acknowledges it. It's really, really weird. And then when it gets really strange then, he talks about those kings, the Brutus thing, all this, right? That's we're like, okay, right. You know, the Rome, London Stone gets a mention, how it's been so important in history. There's a whole chapter. Chapter 2. Hopefully you can see it. It's called Stones. So again, we talk about London Stone. We talk about the things going on. Talk about Aldgate and all this. But hang on a second. Suddenly, we're 20 odd pages in of explaining how London is definitely pre-Roman and how difficult this is for people who believe in, and he can happily say that, and this is where we get the situation. But I'm trying to explain with the triangle, is because oh dear, because what we have in there, you can talk about prehistory or Neolithic or myths and legends. They don't count as long as they're in that box. They're not part of the game. What you can't do is go outside this for actual real history, when we talk about real things. So after Peter Ackroyd impressing me so much, talking about referencing people like E.O. Gordon and Prehistoric London, all these books about the British establishing London long before the Romans turned up. The very next chapter, it's back to being a Roman city. It's like he hasn't read his own book. It's so absolutely weird. The walls all become Roman. It's depressing, really. Because then he talks about, and also he knows that in 55 BC with Caesar, he's already written in chapter 1, it describes this vibrant community and all the homesteads and how much is going on in the large population. And suddenly he's in chapter 2. So in 55 BC, a military force under the command of Caesar invaded Britain, and within a short time compelled the tribes around London to accept Roman hegemony. Really? Where's that based on? Almost 100 years later, the Romans returned with a more settled policy of invasion and conquest. It's almost the same rubbish as in this old Ladybird book. The troops may have crossed the river at Westminster or Southwark or Wallingford. Temporary encampments may have been established in Mayfair or at the Elephant and Castle. It is important for this account only that the administrators and commanders finally chose London as their principal place of settlement because of the strategic advantages of the terrain and the commercial benefits of this riverine location. Whether, this is the bit, listen to this, whether the Romans occupied an abandoned settlement, its tribal occupants having fled on wooden trackways into the swamps and forests, is not known. It seems likely, in any event, that the invaders understood the significance of the site from the beginning of their occupation. Here was an estuary served by a double tide, so it became the central point for seaborne trade in the south of Britain, and the focus for a network of roads which have survived for almost 2,000 years. The outlines of that first city have been revealed by excavation, with two principal streets of gravel running parallel to the river on the eastern hill. One of these streets skirted the banks of the Thames and can still be traced in the alignment of Cannon Street and Eastcheap. The second road, some 100 yards to the north, comprises the eastern stretch of Lombard Street as it approaches Fenchurch Street. Here are the true origins of the modern city. And then there's the London Bridge, built by the Romans, and everything's Romans. It's not clear whether Londinium it's become now. He's gone through all how it was a British town, how we got the name London, where London came from, how it predates the Romans by possibly thousands of years, and suddenly it's not sure whether Londinium was first used as a Roman military camp. Certainly it soon became a centre of supplies. In its first, what's the word he used? Stages, we must imagine a cluster of small dwellings with clay walls, thatch roofs, and earthen floors. Narrow valleys ran between them, and a series of streets connecting the two main thoroughfares filled with the smells and noises of a busy community. It's just bizarre. Where then he starts quoting like Tacitus and all these kind of people. I don't know, it's just weird, you know. And then he does all this kind of quite clever stuff about the resource of the Roman London. Oh yeah, I did read on. I read a lot more of this. But in even Sorry, no, I'm confusing two books right at the same time. So he immediately bails out, I would call it. He bails out. He starts off looking like he's going to challenge the sort of consensual view, but he can't do it, you see, because his book won't get taken seriously. This comes back to that heading I started alluding to last week. It's so difficult, so much more difficult for professional historians to study history than it is for us, or someone like Wilson and Blackett, or someone like that. Because the situation there is quite simple. You find the evidence, you follow it. You look for alternative sources, you look for complementary and supplementary evidence, physical evidence. Can you find, this is where excavations come in useful, and language links, all these sort of things. DNA, even, I'm not a big fan of DNA, but on a population basis it can be helpful. All these things can be used, and you follow them. This is the key thing. You follow to see where that takes you, as opposed to professional historians stuck in this chamber, this triangle, where he can't go outside, or she. E.O. Gordon was female, by the way. You can't go there. You're just not allowed. You're not allowed to go there. Prehistory, go where you like, but you can't challenge like the Roman thing. Like it's like reading two books, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Absolutely fascinating example. I didn't expect to find it there. As you saw my video yesterday, I was really excited, thinking, my goodness, finally a book actually, breaking this mainstream mold and everything's blasted Roman. But there you go. All right, so let's read a couple more comments before we go. Do you guess you got your music ready? Are you going to play us out?
Oh,
you're not ready, are you? You just pulled the power out.
No, I did not pull the power out. You pulled the computer and the cable's very tight.
Oh, you were holding that bit. All right, you can see he's a bit tired. He's being tired and grumpy. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. Nothing like patronising a teenager to cheer him up. Are you going to play something? You're not going to bother. Mr. Grumpy now, look. There we go. Yeah, right, okay. Let's read some of the comments here now. Put Marchell into my search. You'll come up. You'll find interviews at Marchell's own channel. If you go to the description, there's a link to Marchell's channel. You can see that there. The Pictish Largo stone near London, Fife. Yeah, now, when you go into the Pictish stones, some of those might be, well, they read using Old Welsh, so I don't know if they're Pictish or, you'll find some of those in part 1 of, don't forget, it's on sale already. Follow the link, you can buy a copy. There is a London on Jutland as well. Ooh, interesting. Thank you, Di. If you can send me some more information on that, that'd be interesting. Because a lot of the work Marchell is doing show that London, he even mentions it in that book about Troy Noventis, about it being the new Troy. And it going back to, say, I don't know, 1100 BC at least, maybe. Right, Marchell. Read Peter Ackroyd years ago, and I'm now disappointed. There we are. Me too. Junction Films, Brad Kemble, it may be, but I also hear there is not significant really as a place in comparison to other settlements, e.g. St. Albans. Possibly. I mean, I think the most important places in that era seem to be on the Severn. The Severn was the link to Mediterranean. The Thames really comes in when you start trading more with North Europe, doesn't it? But yeah, I'd agree with that. How important was London? But there's definitely very ancient, the names. The one place which he touches on in there, Peter Ackroyd does actually talk about, and it's disappointing to see him sort of abandon it mid-argument in a way, was, I'm sorry, I just told to put you off the book now, Meg, have I? I'll talk some more about the book as I read it. But what it does is where the White Tower is, the Tower of London, as it's called, which gets its name because it's from, Bryn Gwyn, as you call it crudely. And Gwyn in Welsh, you have to understand, same as Gwynedd, the county that Hugh has found the zodiac in. The Gwyn means holy as well. Holy, and it's not just the colour white. It's this idea of the holy situation. So you had this Bryn Gwyn was the holy hill, the very sacred hill in the middle of London, which is why they call it the White Tower. The Tower of London's gone there. Oh, Arnie's just tuning up. Give me such a look. Ah, he is funny. Yeah, the dating. It's all about the chronology, and unfortunately, it's the hardest thing to do. All right, let's have a look. Jimmy the Fool, after Hancock et al. We need to have a moratorium on knowledge of history. You can say that again. I thought you meant Hancock's half hour from it. I think he's a hard worker, insightful. He won't accept the Trojan narrative. No, he won't go there, even when he presents evidence supporting it. Whoa! So we just out to my comments. I have music on my channel, but it's very Albion truth seeker centric, without being too awful. Oh, and thank you, Di Saucepan Vark. I did see your name come up. Yeah, good discussion here. People watch the chat. I'll try and keep that live. It might be an Old Norse word for London, but I mean, it's just massively older, isn't it? I don't know if... The other thing I'd like to quickly mention on that before we finish is that we have to bear in mind that there's this other common misconception, is that all languages and influences only flowed into Britain and nothing ever flowed out. If you look at more recent history, there's places like New York and New London and places that are all over the world because there's sort of British apparent urge to go and colonise places and stick the same names everywhere. And that same instinct seems possibly to go back all the way back to ancient Troy, when you had New Troy in Britain. So maybe, I mean, the British records by Arthur talk about him going around Scandinavia and Iceland, places like that. So where do you go? Right, I'm new to Britain's hidden history stuff. Where's the best place to start? Oh my goodness. It can be a bit overwhelming. Yes, it can. Oh my goodness, I should put some links up. But all languages made from English. Interesting. Right, what I would say, if you go through... I would suggest going through some of the live Sunday evening shows. And there's a playlist, which is the live shows. If you scroll down, there's a couple on there called like Welcome or Introduction or What's It All About, that kind of thing. The last one, introducing it all again, was only about 6 weeks ago. So hopefully have a look at one of those and hopefully that'll give you an idea. It does cover a lot. The whole history before 1700s as it was written, before 1700, about the Britons being a group of different peoples and the Irish coming from Middle East, a number of migrations to Britain and building ancient kingdoms there. There's an ancient royal family and you can see them in the castles, everything. And it's all just pretending it didn't happen. Anyway, right, okay, so yeah, I'll try and do some more introduction ones as well. Yeah, Holy Kingdom's a good book. I would think, I think the next book, once this King Arthur conspiracy is out, which is harder work than I thought, is the, I think an overall introduction book. And I need to do some videos on that. Alright, anyway, it's getting very late. It's school night. We've all got work tomorrow, haven't we? So, wow, great to see so many people on there. And thank you very much, everyone, for coming back time and time again. So many people been here ever since the beginning. Right, we're going to play it, Arnie B?
Don't mind.
Don't mind. There we are. That's helpful, isn't it? Oh, no, don't hit the teenagers with...
Suggestions?
What?
Any suggestions?
Any suggestions, people? Go on quickly.
National anthems?
National anthems, how about that?
Anything like that?
Do you do the Irish one? No.
It's pretty simple.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, it's about 2 lines long.
Well, have a go there. Oh, here we are. There we are. In honour of yesterday's rugby. There you go. Here's one for the Irish. One other thing I had to point out on there is that there's no such thing as, what do they call it? P-Celtic and Q-Celtic, or P-Brythonic, Q-Chruthonic. Ireland's got its own origins, history as well. It's the Gaelic language, separate, alright? Separate to the Welsh and the British. The other book I was going to talk about if we had time was this load of garbage from the 1950s. But even... Thank you very much, Harley. Alright, can you think of a... Oh my goodness, come on, let's open this song up. The many connections between English and Sumerian. Yes. Does Arnie know any Jean-Luc Ponty?
No, I don't.
No, we can try and find out by next week.
Exactly.
I've never heard of him. It's a case of you hum it, Arnie can play it, but we don't know who it is. Jean-Luc Ponty? That sounds like this one. It was like that sounds like a Gren joke. Was it used to be Pontypridd is like Paris only with trees? Or Paris is like Ponty with trees. Oh, something like that. Jean-Luc Luke Ponty. I'd like to hear more about those languages. I'll leave the chat up and you can put more comments on, and perhaps you could drop me an email, ross@cumberglyphics.com, because I have languages is like my number one thing in many ways. Yeah, lots of number ones, but that's one of them. Please don't sing, my cat goes nuts. I can hardly breathe, I'm not going to sing tonight. But thank you for the warning. I bet your cat loves it. When this is your cat goes nuts, it's excited, alright? Cheering, running away. Who is this singer? You know, that's the same when there's a few thousand in the room. Quick. What are we going to have? Oh, God, Blade's gone blank. Ross, you send me a message. Thank you, Brad. That'd be great. Theme tune to some then.
Anthems, themes, anything. As long as I know it's.
You're the A-team. Alright, yeah. Okay, right, I'm going to sign off now. I'll leave the chat on a little bit longer. I'll try hard to see if you can work it out. I like picking songs he hasn't played. Right. Okay. It was nice here last week without this baiting, condescension, and self-aggrandizement. I'm sorry to hear about that, so I had a bit closer look tonight. So, and thank everyone for keeping it so friendly, family-friendly, and joyful. Alright, play something low. I'll do your pieces.
It's too low, so it can't go any lower.
Alright, do your
Run out of strings.
what's that piece you do with that Hungarian dance? Can you try that?
Yeah, okay.
That's quite difficult, isn't it? There we go. Right there, that's a nice jolly one to sign out on, isn't it? Alright, so God bless everybody. My very best wishes. Oh, that's loud. And peace to everyone. I will leave you in the capable hands of Arnie playing. I'll just turn the mic around a bit. Hang on a second. I got this huge lag now. Hope that's worked. Very good, Arnie. Right. Alright, so thank you very much, Brad. Thank you, Mr. A. Definitive Gaze, Neil Murray. It's growing and growing and growing. Please spread the word. You can become a member for a couple of pounds a month. That's always good. Oh yeah, learn Sherlock. Was there Sherlock Holmes tune, is there? You don't really watch TV, that's the trouble. You can't do music, history and TV, you know? Knight Rider. Yeah, that would be good. I'm writing these down. This is me writing, okay? I can't remember the Knight Rider theme. God, let's go back a bit, isn't it? Yes, Hedu Pope. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Dean. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I hope I can breathe again by next week. That's what I'm starting to... I can breathe through my nose again. That's typical, isn't it? Completely blocked all show, and it's better now. It's too late. Right, okay. So I'm going to do this thing now, see if this works. See if Leon put the right card up. So from me, until next week, I go, Hedu.